So welcome to to our this is our second location. We started in Lukuju.
Okay.
We moved here. Um, we put it in Lukuju so it could be on the mainland.
Yeah.
So we close the commute to be convenient for the decadents. But decadents are the people that are in training.
Yeah.
But when we were there, we discovered that even though it was on the mainland, their commute was still 3, 4, 5 hours a day.
Wow.
Of traffic.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they wanted, so they said, is there a way we can get them an apartment? And so we said, you know what, let's just move to a place where we'll be able to get like a block of flats.
Yeah.
So we have accommodation for all of them.
Wow.
Just around the corner. So we moved in here. We've been here for a few months.
Okay.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here, man. I'm really inspired by Decagon and the work you guys are doing. I think in addition to sort of filling a critical problem, the model can be something that other industries learn from. So maybe I would just ask you first, before you pepper me with questions, is that maybe just describe the model small and then.
Okay, so and it's interesting because from your book gives some of the noun terminology that which I didn't know, I didn't have. The point is that there's demand for software engineers, and there is in Nigeria there's a very large youthful population, super smart people who don't who many of them graduate from university, top grades, and can't get a job. And there's this whole new industry, software engineering, where there's demand, but they don't have laptops, they don't know, who will guide them and so on. And so what Decagon does is basically find the smartest people and then take them through a really rigorous training program that involves technical training, mentoring, real life project work, and leadership development.
You have to make the program more rigorous. I've been seeing some people smiling. So
it's part of the training is being able to suffer and smile.
Okay. Fella. Suffering and smiling
is part of it.
We're good at that in Nigeria.
So they do all that, and like I said, they include accommodation, a stipend, so that they can focus and learn without thinking about how to eat. Well, we're actually providing food. But anyway, we take care of everything, and they don't have to pay anything until after they get a job. And we, connect them to the jobs. So that's the model.
Yeah. And I mean, I think when hearing you talk about the model, right, it just makes me think a lot about some of the theories and frameworks we wrote about in the book. When we look at the unemployment problem or the education problem in Nigeria, specifically in Africa more broadly, we may look at it as, it's an education problem. Or the kids aren't learning so that they can get ready for the workforce. Or the kids are lazy. Or whatever. There are so many things we say. But when I think about the Decagon model, you started in Lupeju and you realized for me to optimize learning, I need to think about a lot more than what happens at Decagon in the classroom. I need to, in our language, we say I need to integrate across the interfaces that are incredibly difficult to provide this service to the kids. And so you say accommodation is a big one. And it's mind-boggling that a school, for lack of a better word, or a training program would provide this kind of accommodation, right? I mean, boarding schools, we sort of understand that model. But for a program like this, and then you say, okay, we'll pay them a stipend. I went to boarding school. I paid the boarding school. You understand what I'm saying? When kids go to university, they pay the university. this is turning that business model on its head because you're integrating across the difficult interfaces so that when the student comes out, they are ready to integrate into the job market.
Yeah. So, and if you think about it, I was thinking about what's the best way to approach this for a long time. And one of the things that was happening when I was talking to sort of experts in sort of the development field, right?
Yes.
And prospective maybe investor, funders, and social impact people, right? A lot of the thing was that we should figure out how to make the education, the whole program, cheaper. Make it cheaper, right? So that it can be accessible.
Yeah.
Now, the way I thought about it, I thought software engineering is about, at the end of the day, it's about quality.
Yeah.
The better software engineers they are, the much, it'll be much more easy for them to get work, for them to be productive, for them to really sort of realize this whole thing is about people like fulfilling their potential,
Absolutely.
So I thought, at least the world as we understand it about education, right?
Yeah.
The best universities or the best schools
Yeah.
are, quality is not, you don't make it cheaper, you don't compromise quality.
You don't.
And so I thought, we have an opportunity here where, if we get the smartest Nigerians, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning, they may not be able to afford like sort of premium and quality.
Yeah.
Right? So the person coming in cannot afford it. But the person in 6 months, if they've gone through the best quality process, can afford it.
Yeah.
So let me use a person, one of the decadents, Adabe. Adabe today, Adabe coming in cannot afford it.
Yeah.
Cannot even afford.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a laptop.
Yeah.
To learn. That's the whole reason why he's not learning. Doesn't have a laptop, doesn't have access to the internet.
Yeah.
Today. But when he goes through this program, right, he can afford 20 laptops a month.
Yeah.
So why not just bet on him?
Yeah.
And basically sort of design the whole program for quality.
Yep.
And don't trade off that. And so this is what has led to things like, if out of 24 hours in the day, which they have to learn, if they have to spend 5 hours in commute, take it out.
Yeah.
If if they don't if, for example, they need to start taking like side jobs, or they had a job or whatever because they need money to survive, or they have, some of them already have obligations, family obligations and so on, give them a stipend, and so on. And so all
the barriers to learning. The barriers to learning, and for learning I can substitute it for consumption. The barriers to consume this education that will improve their lives, we take them out.
I thought, the way we thought about it, even our selection process, right? Even the barrier to being discovered.
Considered. Wow.
Yes, because typically people can't get into software engineering because they're not exposed to software engineering. Yeah. And most of the screening programs require you to already have some software engineering capability before you can even get in the door. So our screening process starts with them not actually being exposed. Yeah. So it starts with actually training. Yeah. So our screening process is basically in itself a training program that then screens the fastest learners, the most resilient learners, the most honest learners. And we invest quite a bit in that screening process. Yeah. But what it does is that even if somebody studied medicine or whatever, history, we have one of the decadents studied religion. Yes, religious studies, right?
Wow.
So, but he started learning at the same time, or he started at the same place as people who studied whatever, computer science, and he's learning faster, hungrier, and we picked him. So that's
Yeah, no, that the model makes a lot of sense, and I think it's meeting visionary entrepreneurs like you that gives me hope that Nigeria can get better and Africa as a whole can improve because we're not going to use the models of 19th or 20th century to solve today's problems. So the idea that we have to build so many more universities, so many more schools in order to meet the demand, when the existing ones are actually not teaching kids what they need to learn so that they can go into the economy and be productive members of the economy. The idea that somehow we're going to spend billions of naira, build more big universities that haven't changed the model. They're not listening to the market, listening to the non-consumers. It's never going to work. So when I engage with entrepreneurs like yourself, I mean, this is sort of what gives me hope about this country and the continent, even in the midst of a lot of the struggles that I know we have. I got word. I guess yesterday I was just doing some little research, and I said, you know what? The president just sent a $27 billion budget to the Senate or the House of Reps to sign. I said 27 billion. I said, okay, let me just check. I live in Massachusetts, Boston. I said, what's our budget in Massachusetts? So Boston, Massachusetts, first of all, we've got 7 million people, thereabout. Nigeria, we don't really know how many people are here, but it says around 200 million. Around. Our budget 27 billion. The budget in Massachusetts is $43.2 billion. And there are many public services in Massachusetts that we complain about. We say we have to improve education. This higher ed is getting too expensive. The schools, high schools, middle schools are not teaching our children well enough. Healthcare, oh my gosh, healthcare is a problem. That's one of the richest states in America, one of the most innovative states in America. 7 million people, $43 billion. Nigeria, 200 million people is what they tell us, 27 billion. In what world, except you are doing magic, how does that work? How does that equation add up to where the government will be able to provide every service that the average Nigerian needs, right? And so innovation like this that can unlock significant value is what we need so that we can unlock that value so the government can now continue to have more money so they can pump back into the economy. But the way it is now, how do we make progress?
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think, and this is why. So Decagon, so it's a business that we also consider to be a mission. So it's the Decagon company, then there's the Decagon mission, and they are one and the same. The mission is on multiple levels, but it's really around this whole thing that for this generation of Nigerians, the idea that Nigeria will Nigeria's lot will be different, right? That Nigeria's experience or whatever their life experience will be different through government action. The chances are not very high. But then we have this opportunity because infrastructure is not, even if you had the most well-intentioned government, the funding is not sufficient. And you know what? Even if somehow we got another windfall of dollars, and even if that budget, Nigerian budget, could be increased tenfold, it takes time to build infrastructure. It takes time to really lay out all the things that are required for all the other industries.
Exactly.
And then we happen to have this opportunity of an industry that is now the main source of value creation, the most important source of value creation in the world. is really from digital currently. That's why 7 of the top 10 value companies are digital.
Yeah.
So, and at the heart, so it's sort of at the heart of digital value creation is software engineers. And what a software engineer is basically a really smart person that is trained and able to write software. So this generation, we looked at it and I said, this generation has the opportunity to actually sort of go around and escape all the infrastructure problems, even the societal culture, whatever is the issue. If we can just create the small version, right? And so the point I'm making is that Decagon is like, okay, a mission to help, starting with the first, we started with 7, then 33. This year we'll do 200. Create the whole, almost like the whole country for 200, the system complete, in which the main ingredient is the engineer's talent or the engineer's potential talent, and then scale that up. So that you then start to have thousands and then tens of thousands of world-class engineers in Nigeria. And that's important on two levels, right? One is that they themselves end up becoming a major source of income and economic activity for the country.
Absolutely.
India has 0.3% of their population writing software, right? They generate $120 billion a year of income, that's export income into India, right? If Nigeria had 0.3%, that would be, we don't know how many Nigerians there are, but that would be between 600,000 and 1 million Nigerians. That number equates to actually that budget.
Wow.
That's what will be coming if we had fulfilled our potential and had about 0.3%, like India, like Ukraine, like Poland, they all have about 0.3%. So my goal is for us to get to that 0.3% roughly. But the other,
that doubles. Think about it. That brings in as much as
yes, as the budget.
Wow.
And it's in normal people, young, smart people's pockets.
The consumption of learning, of this learning software engineering, or just learning in general, there's so many barriers. You talked about the transportation one. That alone is enough. There's so many other barriers. And so locking people up you're not locking them up, but it's not prison. Putting people in a place, giving them a stipend, making sure they're okay, they feel good. When you integrate across the hard interfaces, you say, okay, what's hard for you? Transportation, fiber, that makes no sense. We'll figure out how to solve that, and it's by accommodation, close to where you learn. Food, okay, we'll take care of that. Okay, a little stipend so that you're not worried about, we'll take care of that. When you figure all that out, right, and you figure out a business model that can support that, that's when you begin to really add value. That's why you see a lot of people who never dreamt of being software engineers, who never dreamt of learning in this way, they begin to want to consume learning. And so, nobody would ever think, I don't know how many people apply for the programs because of getting, but I would never have thought a lot of people would be interested in this kind of thing in Nigeria. Most people go to school for biz admin and things like that, right? And so I think when you solve a critical problem that causes people to not consume, you'll see a lot of consumption happen.
No, yeah, I get it. I think one thing that we sort of overlook, but what you've explained helps me see is one of the barriers to consumption for a skill is a master, because this software engineering is a skill that is really a good fit for the apprenticeship model, right? Because there's video, theoretically people could learn from video and so on, and there are many things that people can learn from video, and that's part of the innovation, right? But to really get good quickly, you need practice, with feedback and guidance from a master or a mentor. And so the challenge would have been, you might be super smart, you might even have a laptop, but how will you learn the actual craft, the tricks of the trade, right? And so one of the, the whole idea of like figuring out, one of the things that we had to do was we brought in senior engineers, right? But senior engineers who want to mentor people. And then soon enough, after the first cohort, the senior engineers found that mentoring is not enough. They themselves, they want to continue to get better. So now we've had to say, you know what, we have to add on sort of a little professional service, a little like a services business, where the real objective of it is to have real life projects that help us bring in more senior engineers. So senior engineers who otherwise would have been stuck with only the senior engineers that are willing to shift to a life of teaching. And that would have constrained the supply of senior engineers. Now we're having to make a tweak to the model to be able to take on projects, and of course potentially this revenue can come, is coming from that. But it then opens up our supply of senior engineers, of teachers, so that we can then scale up the number of students that can come on board. So we're finding that it's almost like with each buyer that you remove, you find another one that would have been an obstacle to scaling, and then you have to like figure it out. So the first set of people who are graduating, who have graduated, they've gotten jobs, right? But they don't want to move out. And the reason why they don't want to move out is because accommodation for a young employed person in Lagos currently is a big problem, because you have to pay rent for 2 years. So you've just gotten a job, but that doesn't mean that you have the money to pay rent for 2 years or 1 year in advance, and to furnish and all that. And seeing that we had already been able to figure out an arrangement that made it affordable for them to live together, share apartments and all that stuff, then we're finding that right now we've extended for those who are pregnant. We said, okay, for the next 6 months, you can stay here, but then you start to pay monthly. So that whole idea that you can pay monthly, you're sharing the flight, you can pay monthly, is probably a business, right? That a lot of other people have.
It is a business. It is a business, and think about they get to the proximity to the community, right? Which adds tremendous value.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's a reason cities. There's a book written by Edward Glaser. He's an economist at Harvard. It's something cities. The rise of the cities, or cities is the title. Edward Glaser, Google Edward Glaser cities, and he talks about the innovative potential of cities and how the reason cities are centers of innovation is because there's an energy you feel when you're amongst people together. And so when people leave the Decagon community, they will invariably lose something, right? Now they're gaining because you're going to get a job, or you're going to create a company that adds tremendous value, and so you're gaining. But think about all those times you left school, right? Like graduation day, or like you were happy you graduated, but there was this feeling of, man, I'm leaving this community vibrant, stimulating, and so on, right? And it's the same. And so if people could sort of get the best of both worlds, stay close to the community, makes continuous education a lot easier and more accessible, accommodation, you figured out a model. Again, I say, we say we have a housing problem in Nigeria and Africa. Whatever problem Nigeria has, Africa has. Maybe we've been looking at the problem too simplistically. Maybe we've just been focused on housing. How do I build a house? How do I build a house? Housing, concrete housing, cement housing, cement. But if we wrapped that job that people have to provide safety and security around other things that could create value And it's no longer can you pay 2 years rent. It is what are all the things that this new organization, what's the value it's creating that's helping to pay for housing, helping to pay for the education, learning, electricity, and so on.
One question I have about this is about the book and the idea, the insight, right? About the idea that government is probably not, and development aid and all the way it has been done it's probably not the answer. It's not the most effective, right, at getting people out of poverty or getting people to prosperity, right? But my concern is, to what degree you might be absolving government and absolving the development people. These are people who is their job to do, to solve these problems. As far as government is concerned, they're elected to do that. So, are we not like giving them a pass and then they will now start saying, you see, actually,
you guys. Yeah.
So, but we already know, nobody is come and tell us that we should solve problems so we can create more value and build our businesses.
Yeah, it's a good question, brilliant insight, and I've thought about this a lot. So I'll answer it in two ways. The first is, I talked a little bit about the difference in scale in budget. So Nigeria, population 200 million people, budget $27 billion. What I did not say is about a quarter of that budget off the bat goes to debt servicing, right? So that 27 billion divided by 4, and you're left with 16 or something, or 17, 18 billion, right? So that's first. So it's more like 18 billion, right? Massachusetts, 7 million people, $43 billion. That's the budget of that state in the US. So when you think about the practicality of the Nigerian government solving all the problems that just Massachusetts solves, it is, dare I say, impossible. We do not have the financial abilities, technical abilities, managerial abilities, and we actually, don't have the institutions and vision to do it. Like, we don't have the setup, right? Because we haven't been doing it for 100, 200, 300 years. We haven't seen that when the government spends $1 in this industry or this sector, it provides this much value. And so there is a way the government adds value for itself that already exists. There's a culture, an understanding of what the government does, right, that already exists. And so from that standpoint, yeah, on paper it's their job, but it means nothing when it comes to the practicality of how we live our lives. And that is the one area I would say we are very good at. We are very good at complaining to them, talking bad about them, saying they're not good, and so on. And there are so many strategies, so many ways we do that. And how effective has it been? Because look, we're trying to solve problems, right? You're an entrepreneur. You could have looked at this situation and said, it's the job of the universities in Nigeria to train this guy. What do you mean you went to school for computer science and it's their job? You paid. You can scream all you want. You're not solving problems. So as an entrepreneur, you have to divorce what's on paper from reality. So that's number one. Number two, when you actually said it's the job of the government and the development organizations to actually do this, I would challenge that and say, yes, on paper it's their job, right? But fundamentally, as human beings, because we have to understand that every person, by definition, who works for the government is a person, is a human being. Their number one priority in life is to take care of themselves and their families. That's their job. That's their real job. Insofar as the vehicle of governance or development aid enables them to do that, then we can begin to talk about improving that vehicle so that they can solve both problems, right? They take care of themselves and their families, and they actually make the country better. But the number one priority they have, a governor, a minister, is to take care of themselves and their families. Now, what we hope happens is that, and what typically happens is, and this is why entrepreneurs and programs like Decagon is so important, even though you just started and I can see the potential. When this scales, right, what you have now done is created a market that aligns the big job, the job with a big J of a governor, which is to take care of himself and his family, with the small j, which is his actual day-to-day job, right? That enables him actually take care of himself and his family. So he sees that by supporting Decagon and programs like it, he can actually get more money into his budget, hire more people, get more people employed, at the same time improving his circumstance.
And win re-election.
And win re-election, right? Look at all the Deca devs that happened during my tenure, right? And so that alignment is critical. When we can do that, then we can begin to see development happen, which is why I lean towards bold entrepreneurship and market creating innovations that make products simple and affordable so many people can afford them. Because when that happens, you can begin to see the alignment. And absent of that in an economy, it's incredibly difficult to ask people who have the big J job of taking care of themselves to sort of negate that and do the small J job of taking care of everybody. And so it's not so much absolving government, it is helping them do their jobs, right? And we all love to pray in Nigeria, so we should all love to help one another. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
But this has been good. Fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Efosa.
Yeah, no doubt.